got a good number of people in today. Thank you so much for joining us today, discussing a range of updates across the business, and also discussing making L&D sustainable through learning, unlearning, and relearning. Okay, so just to kick us off, my name's Emma Bamford. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Go1, and I've just got a couple of housekeeping items for you. The structure of today's webinar is one of, we've got 3 presentations, and in between each presentation, we've got a number of polls. So we'd love to hear from you on a couple of questions today. So get ready to put your answers in against some questions that we have put together today. We're also, we recognize that Layla, VP of Product, was due to join us, but regrettably she's unavailable at this time. So we've got the regular product updates and any questions that you post today in the chat, and please do get your questions into us. We'll go and create some video responses to some of those with Layla and also the head of product and engineering. Okay, so a copy of this webinar will be available to you after the fact, and we'll provide that alongside the answers to your questions today. So we have a couple of updates today. Our agenda is that we'll be covering updates from the Go1 Content Hub today with Shannon Herrera, and then we'll be talking about the future of your Go1 experience through the Go1 Platform and also Microsoft Teams with an update from myself. And then we'll pass over to David Schnabel and to talk about customer success and making L&D sustainable. Like I mentioned, we've got a number of polls, so please get those answers to the questions in. We'd love to hear from your perspective on these points. Okay, so to kick us off, let's get one of those poll questions up. What do you see as your greatest L&D challenge? I'm going to launch that poll just now. So you should see that. Is it getting buy-in or budget? Developing a strategy? Finding the right content? Reporting, measuring, and understanding impact? We'll keep the poll open for 10 seconds or so. It's looking like reporting and measuring is in the lead here. That's so interesting. A lot of nuance. All right, thank you so much. I'll finish the poll there and we'll crack on with our speakers today. All right. I'd like to pass over to Shannon for Content Hub updates.
All right, thanks. Hi, I'm Shannon Herrera, and I'm the Content Curation Manager here at Go1. And today I just wanted to give you a few updates on content, what's been going on in the Content Hub, and some exciting things we see coming in the future. So on the next slide, Emma, we're just talking about high-level consumption rates, just a little bit of information on where things are at right now. So you can see over the last year, our minutes per user per month has really increased, which is super exciting. So the average time a learner spends in the system per month is about 2 hours and 46 minutes, which is amazing. Across the board in the L&D industry, we see about 2 hours per month. So the fact that we're seeing more than that is really great. And we're really excited to see that our learners are really engaged. So if you go to the next slide, you can kind of see what's trending. So for our most popular topics and courses, a lot of these are things that we've been seeing for the last year. So Excel, people looking to upskill, infection prevention and control, I think particularly as employees are going back into the office, companies are trying to refocus on how to keep everybody safe. And along with that is the data privacy and protection. We've seen an uptick in cyber security issues and things like that. And so I see that companies are really focused on that. We're getting into harassment and discrimination training time. So a lot of companies filling that quota for their companies. And then healthcare and social assistance, the psychological first aid, which I think is really great. There's just, we're seeing an increase in focus on mental health, which I think is really fantastic. And then to highlight some new content that we have, again, cybersecurity coming on board. These are courses that have been highly consumed since they've been added in the last 3 months. So Big Canvas about chain of responsibilities, emotional life skills from Will Interactive, which is a really great course on how to take care of your mental health, but also to take care of your employees and help if you see struggles with your other coworkers. Aged care, and then Channel 1 bringing us some really great phone skills and customer service series. So those are definitely worth checking out. I definitely recommend that. So speaking of mental health, if we go to the next slide, there has been a new standard, and in fact, our first standard globally on how to help companies manage the mental health of their employees. So this is ISO 45003. And what's really important about this is that it gives companies some structure around how to build a positive working environment and a framework for managing the mental health of their employees. And so this is really important to us here at Go1. And it's going to be great for you as we build out playlists and really map our content to these standards. So you'll see over the next couple of months, we'll be releasing some playlists that will help you better support your customer or your employees with their mental health and building that psychological safety in your organizations and just an overall positive environment. So we're really excited that we're going to be able to help bring that kind of content to you. So, and then finally, as we go to the next slide, I want to highlight a new provider that we have. This is the Learning Lounge. This is a great new content provider that we brought on. They build Australian content specifically for the Australian market. We have over 500 different courses from them, and there's a variety of high quality videos, interactive PDFs, and courses that have assessments and just really high quality. And they cover a variety of content. So everything from aged care to parenting and relationships. They also have a great celebrity mentor series, very similar to TED Talks, where the celebrities actually talk to you about these different topics from, mental health, emotional connections and things like this. So this is a provider I would definitely recommend that you check out, particularly in your professional development, personal development skills. They have a lot of really high quality content. So we're super excited that we were able to onboard them this last quarter. And then the other exciting onboarding that we had this quarter, if we go to the next slide, is Harvard. So we have been talking about Harvard for a little while. We're very excited to have onboarded their content. We're also excited we'll be having a webinar with them in May that we will let everybody know about so that you can join. But that content should be live in your system. If you don't have access to it, you can reach out to your CSMs. There are some restrictions with Harvard content, so but your CSM can answer your questions and get you set up with that content. And then a few things about what's coming next for us, if you go to the next one, is edX. We talked about this last time in our customer webinar, but we want to give you a little bit of an update on edX, in that they will be coming onto the system in May, so a little bit later than we anticipated, but we should have all of that content uploaded for you to experience in the next couple months. And then we're also excited about a new partnership that we have with Coursera. So we'll have over 1,600 learning items from them with their practice or their guided practice labs, which is a great series that allows you to practice different systems in a safe environment, which creates a really great learning experience for your employees. So we're excited about that. There'll be more information over the next couple of months about how to access that, who will have access and things like that, but we're really excited for that partnership. And I think it's going to be a really great thing for your employees. So that's the update from the Content Hub.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Really appreciate it. And we're so excited about those partners and onboarding and having that content available to our customers right within their premium subscription. Okay, so it's time for the next question. What do you consider to be your primary business objective for L&D? Let's get that question loaded. All right. So is it compliance? Make sure that my organization doesn't get penalized for not meeting compliance rules. Is it professional development? Help my current people perform better in the organization? Or is it employee value proposition? Help retain and attract people in my organization? I would not have guessed this balance. It's still changing, but that's really interesting. Got professional development leading there. Perfect. There you go. So leading by a long way, professional development, which is a fabulous insight. Thank you for sharing. All right, moving on. It's actually a product update from myself. I have pre-recorded this one just to make sure that, in Blue Peter kind of way of thinking, here's one I prepared earlier. So I'm just going to share for sound.
Hi everyone, Emma here, Go1's Product Marketing Manager, to give you an update on recent and upcoming releases in the Go1 Platform and Microsoft Teams. We'll be conducting scheduled infrastructure upgrades on Saturday the 3rd of April from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. AEST. Full service will resume thereafter, and we've done our best to avoid popular times for learning to make sure users are impacted as little as possible. This impacts anyone accessing Go1 Learning content no matter which system they access from. As a user, you won't have access to learning from the Go1 Content Hub, Go1 Platform, or Go1 Public API. During this period, if you attempt to access learning content within your system, you'll encounter a page informing you of the schedule improvement. The reason we're doing this is so that we can more efficiently release improvements and enhancements, resulting in a better experience for you and your users. If you want to keep track, click on status.go1.com to receive real-time updates. And if you've got any further questions, reach out to the support team or your customer success manager for assistance. Now onto the Go1 platform. You can now browse playlists by topic within Search and Explore, meaning you can find and categorize the right playlists much faster. Additionally, to save time for playlist authors when creating, you can now simply delete content without leaving the playlist structure. Let's talk about mandatory training, and more precisely, delivering compliance training in an effective manner within the Go1 platform. Compliance training mitigates risk for every organisation, and we're focusing on support. The purpose of Go1's compliance project is to reduce administrative effort to deliver mandatory training and improve efficiency within the platform so you can focus on more valuable tasks. This project will touch a number of features across the platform to meet our objective. The initial focus is to improve the ability to choose recurring assignation so you can set and forget recurring training and crack on with those tasks. You can see here how this might look, though the end visual may change. You might wonder how this ties into achievements, which was the focus of our last product update. This is still on track for this year. The work we're doing to improve the assignation rules in the platform will form the foundations for achievements as we're addressing your feedback holistically and prioritising from there. If you would like to keep track of this project, we've created a status page that you can refer to at any time for predictable updates. Our focus is based on your feedback, and we rely on it to improve Go1 products so they meet your needs every step of the way. Check out the status page for more information on how to get involved. Over the coming months, we're beetling away to improve the performance of our courses for learners who have a poor internet connection, no matter the system in which they're delivered. This work is behind the scenes and won't be visible to your learners, but it's our commitment to make their experience second to none when accessing learning. This project is due to start in April. One of the pieces of feedback that stood out from our last customer webinar from all of you was how you might find compliance training specific to your region more easily. We want to ensure you feel secure, that the content you assign is appropriate for your region in a much simpler way. So we're pleased to say that we're now in a position to bring this filter into the product next quarter. We're in the final stages of working with our content providers to gather and go through the necessary steps to validate this information before adding it as a filter in the platform for all users. Although we don't have an exact release date at this stage, we expect this to be released next quarter. Let's see what's new in Go1 and Microsoft Teams. Familiar features in the Go1 platform are now available in Microsoft Teams. If you have the Go1 Learning app for Teams installed, users can now gain access to My Learning within Teams alongside Explore, so they can discover and manage their own content outside of the structured learning within the Teams channels built by team owners. No matter what content your learners are engaging in this personal view, all enrollments and completion data is pulled back centrally into the Go1 platform so you can report on usage with confidence. For many, working remotely has compromised the value of blended learning and instilled additional roadblocks for the connection that comes from learning together. Within Microsoft Teams meetings, organizers can now add learning to the meeting agenda for all attendees to take together. This is now live, so reach out to your customer success manager to learn more. Thank you for listening today, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you on what we've shared. As for next steps and keeping the conversation going, we'll be providing a video interview in the coming weeks from our Head of Product and Engineering to answer your questions from today's webinar. Keep up to date with product releases across the board on our website at www.go1.com/blogs. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'm most excited about the filters for finding appropriate content within the Go1 platform so that you can make sure that you're very comfortable that what you're finding is compliant and totally relevant to your region. So I'm just going to reshare now and move on to the next poll question. Okay. So which topic would be most helpful to discuss with fellow L&D professionals? Let's get that question up. Would it be building a learning strategy and business case, how to find time to learn, be proactive to stop reacting, co-create better business value, create ownership, or improve programs like onboarding, line management training, or D&I, for example? What would you like to learn from your peers? Thanks for your questions there. By a long way, it's number 6, improving programs. So it's really helpful for us because in due course, we're going to be hosting a number of roundtables looking to create the ability for our customers and all of you to learn from each other and create a space to solution together and see what works. So that's really helpful for us to make sure that those opportunities are highly relevant to you. Okay, I'd like to hand over to David now to talk all things customer success.
Excellent. Thank you, Emma. So hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is David and I lead the customer success team here in the region. A couple of thanks. Firstly, thank you for attending this customer webinar today. I'm really excited about the updates that Shannon and Emma shared earlier. I think there's really exciting works in the pipeline. We think about Harvard, edX, and even some of the exciting integrations that are taking place. And secondly, another thank you to each and every one of you for being loyal customers with Go1, whether it's just been a few months throughout your learning journey or a few years. We're really excited to be a part of this together. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the theme of today's session. So what exactly does learn, unlearn, relearn mean? And like when I saw this at first, and I probably thought about it a little bit too much in depth, and I think it really is a matter of, how do we continuously improve? And when I thought about how to explain this a little bit further, I thought about something that I'm extremely passionate about. I thought we could break that down into further details. So on to the next slide. If we think about the world of swimming, so I'm very passionate about swimming. I've been swimming my whole life and competing. And I think it's fair to say that humans weren't really built to swim. And I think this is something that everyone has to learn throughout their life if they have obviously been able to swim. And I think we can think about this and the building blocks to be able to achieve that milestone of getting from one end of the pool to another. And there's a lot of work, a lot of training, a lot of relearning that needs to take place to be able to facilitate that end goal. So if we think about the starting blocks to be able to get there. So firstly, sorry, going back, Emma, to the previous slide, still on the swimming analogy, we need to think about, how do we get familiar with the water? How do we feel comfortable in the water? How do we learn how to hold our breath? How do we then think about how do we float? And from there, it's like, okay, those are the foundations. And I think we continuously build these skill sets as we go. And as a part of that, it's like, well, how do we start building those, neural pathways around how do we move our arms in a specific motion? How do we kick those legs to be able to propel us forward? And I see that very much as, how we learn as individuals in day-to-day life, whether it's swimming, whether it's running, but also when it comes to our, professional development. And so thinking about learn, unlearn, relearn, it isn't rocket science. It's a matter of us thinking about how do we, out with the knowledge that we have now, how do we remove existing knowledge and preconceived notions and upgrade them? Similar to something like a computer, like this laptop or even your phone, there's always upgrades that are taking place. And I think we need to have that constant mindset in the way that we operate and the way that we communicate, and really emphasizing this to our employees. So as we go on to the next slide, permanent beta. So I'm not sure if some of you have heard of this notion, and this is something that I probably speak about too often than not. If we break this down, what on earth does this actually mean? So beta testing in the world of, software or SaaS is essentially launching a product into the market where, it may not be 100% complete. There may be some bugs. However, we acknowledge that there needs to be multiple versions and iterations to be able to improve that. And this concept of permanent beta was introduced to me from a book that I read called The Startup of You. So it's a book written by Reid Hoffman, who is the co-founder of LinkedIn. And essentially he felt that everyone needs to be in a permanent beta state. And that essentially is thinking about how do we constantly be in that state of change, constantly iterating, constantly upgrading our mindset. And, how do we develop these skills over time? And I think, Go1 is definitely helping to facilitate that. And, like I said, whether you've been with Go1 for, a few months or a few years, obviously you're starting to see that realization and value back to your employees, but also back to your organization. So on that concept of change, today I wanted to dive into 3 different pillars or changes that we're seeing across our customer base. So onto the next slide, there's 3 types I want to discuss today: a change in people or need, a change in process or strategy, and then finally a change in technology. So on to the next slide, I'll dive into the first one. I'm going to give a specific example. I won't go into obviously sharing who that customer is, but in change in people and a change in need. I think this is something that Go1 helps facilitate extremely well. And it's something around how do we continuously allow you to dip your toes in the water to get a taste of learning. And I think from here, this organization is a council and they have about 300 employees. And the issue that they had was they were really unclear on how to approach learning and development. They were quite overwhelmed. And I guess what we thought about was, how do we prioritize their immediate needs? How do we prioritize their mandatory training? And that obviously sits with compliance. And if we think about an employee and the journey that they take coming into your organization, there's obviously that mandatory component of compliance to obviously upskilling them in their current role, but then think about how do we upskill our staff for their future roles. So what we did with this, and one of the CSMs in our team did with this company and this council, was essentially build out that compliance training and really try and drive engagement through that mandatory training, or almost known as like the non-negotiable training. From there, the plan was then to slowly introduce, after about 6 months, specific pathways and course bundles, essentially, to think about how do we provide specific training to meet their business needs. And from there, it happened quicker than expected. Within 4 months, they really started to jump on board and start rolling out specific content to specific departments and to specific jobs within the organization. And this is an exciting journey that we're seeing, not just with this specific council, but with a lot of our organizations. So how do we get you all from obviously that compliance focus through to personal development, even self-driven learning? So that's one example of change in people. The other one is change in process. And I'm really excited to be able to share this one today. And I think this is a fascinating one. So a consumer goods company that we're currently working with that has probably close to about 1,000 employees actually. And they're really thinking about how do we provide learning to an audience beyond their internal staff. And you're probably thinking, why on earth would I want to invest in learning for, I guess, that type of audience? But let me take you through that a little bit further. So in terms of, I guess, they have multiple different processes and platforms to be able to educate, their resellers, their distribution partners, people in the market that are there, championing their brand and really reselling their product. And they saw that as a great opportunity to leverage Go1 to think about how do we educate them on the ground. And this specifically was a paint manufacturer. And what we saw was they essentially built a platform through Go1 to be able to give these individuals a better knowledge around like how to mix paint, how to sell paint, how to understand the brand more. And I think if we're thinking about who else is taking our brand to market, how do we keep that narrative consistent? And I think that's really exciting. But not only are they doing that, they're thinking about these individuals on the ground, speaking with potential customers and end users. How do we facilitate that with professionalism? And they're really investing in customer service and sales courses beyond their current offerings and really tapping into the Go1 Content Hub. So I think question to you all, like who else is interacting with your brand? Who else is going to market with your products? And is there an audience beyond your internal staff, whether it's contractors or even resellers? And start to think about that. And I encourage you all to reach out to your CSM and we can work with you to think about how do we facilitate something like this beyond educating and upskilling and reskilling your internal staff. And then finally, change in technology. So I think this one's pretty apparent, and we've been through an accelerated period in the height of COVID over the past 12 months, and that's growing. And it's not something that's happening in specific industries. I think it's across the board and with all organizations, whether they're a 10 people organization or 1,000+ people organization. And winding back 10, 20, 30 years, the tech stack was really small. And we're talking probably a couple of tools that we're logging into, but obviously times have changed. And at any given point in time, just thinking about myself and Go1, we're probably using anywhere, Emma, Shannon, probably like 20 plus, tools on a daily basis, which can get overwhelming. And I think what's really exciting, and this obviously extends to the point that Emma spoke about, with Microsoft Teams, it's an integration that we're thinking about. How can Go1 be everywhere and anywhere? And how do we really surface content on the go in the flow of work? What do I mean by that? If we think about specific tools that they're using, Teams, for example, to communicate internally, to have calls internally with their staff as well, how do we make sure that it's just not another a vendor as a part of the tech stack? We want to be integrated as a part of that is something that's really exciting and we're continuously investing in. So this is really exciting. We started Go1 as a standalone portal, and I'm not sure, the audience on this call, there's probably a variety that are using Go1 as a portal that you can log in and facilitate learning, whether it's across compliance or self-driven learning. But we're starting to think about different themes around, hypothetically, if your sales teams are about to make a call and pitch your product or your solution, how do we be where they are? How do we surface that specific sales training? And I think that's what's really exciting, the direction that Go1's going, which is a step in the right direction to be adapting, to be, I guess, we're going through that journey ourselves as we learn, unlearn, relearn. So hopefully that was helpful. those are the three different areas I wanted to touch on today. And there are many other different examples, but I wanted to share those specifically with you and those themes which I felt resonated really well with today's topic. There's obviously a library of content. I'm not sure, Emma, if you're going to share this later, that sits on our website. So within our blog, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, and there's different content, whether it's, we've got the infograph on the right, even the theme of today has gone into a little bit more detail. The Learn, Unlearn, Relearn blog post was probably shared a couple of months ago. If you haven't read it, I encourage you to really dive into that. And then also we've got our thought leaders in the space. So Michelle, Shannon, and Laura that have put together an ebook thinking about all the different thinking habits for building a stronger L&D strategy. So I encourage you all, if you haven't already, go and check the blog. So with that, that sort of ends my session today. Hopefully that was helpful. Probably some swimming tips there as well, for thinking about how do we learn, unlearn, and relearn as we adapt in an ever-changing environment. And hopefully those three pillars, people, process, technology, is something you can take away together today to think about how do we reshape your strategy. And you're not alone in this. Some of this can be a little bit scary or overwhelming at first. You have your dedicated CSM. So please, I encourage you all, reach out to us and we're more than willing to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. That was really, really valuable. And I love the swimming analogy, particularly to kind of frame the concept of today. Just mirroring what David said, those resources are in our on our website under Insights, and you can find a swathe of different infographics, blogs, and, as mentioned, ebooks to help inform these kinds of things that you can work with your CSM to tackle some of the problems that you would like to solve within your business. So moving on to the next poll question. In which format are you most likely to participate in the L&D community? This is our final question. I'll launch the poll now. Would you prefer to attend events and webinars, online discussions and forums, participate in roundtables, kind of intimate setting? Would you like to listen to podcast interviews or attend podcast interviews, video Q&As, blog collaboration, or involvement in writing a white paper or article? Excellent. I'll wrap that one up. 2 seconds. Okay, that's most people. So interestingly, attending events and webinars is a clear lead there, which means that we're doing something right by hosting today. So I'm really pleased to learn that. But of course, there's always a variety there of different ways that people can communicate, learn, and share insights. So we're bearing all of this in mind for how we engage you on an ongoing basis. Thank you for your insight today. We really appreciate it. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up today, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of you for attending and listening to what we have to say to you and sharing all those insights, and also providing your feedback to us as well. So if there's been any questions that you've posed or anything in chat, we're going to have a little read of those afterwards, and we'll answer your questions. But you're always welcome to get in contact with us through your CSMs, and we can answer some of those questions on an ongoing basis too. So I've just seen Sharon ask, will this presentation be sent out or made available? And that's absolutely the case. We'll provide this recording to you in the coming week. So thank you very much for attending and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Thank you.